This tank is the Sheridan. This is an American Tier 10 light tank. The map is Prokhorovka. I am going to get 5,200 spotting damage in this game. So if you're curious about this tank, about the Sheridan, is it a good tank? To be honest, I don't like playing it. I would rather play the T-49. Once I complete the mission for the LT-15 for the Object 260, I might dump this tank and go back to playing the T-49 as my top tier tank. This tank is a little bit difficult to drive. And by being difficult to drive, it's just not fun to play. It's a little clunky and clumsy. So you can see I approached this area. It looks like I'm going to make it without being spotted. Looking for a good position. Going to check my coverage to make sure that I'm not exposed. We've spotted one tank. Now, there is a risk that I could still be spotted because obviously tanks can get close to me. There are a lot of tanks in the midfield. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Plus 8, 9, 10, 11. That means there's 4 tanks that are unspotted in this game. So I don't expect a lot of them to be on this side of the map. I've already got 910 spotting damage. You'll notice that that tank, the Object 260, is beyond my spotting range, so I decided to advance to the next bush, which gives me better coverage to that red line. And the Jagdpanzer was spotted quickly and already has taken damage. But you got to be careful with advancing because you can easily... How do you do that? Okay. You could easily be spotted by tanks like this T-62. So I have to be careful about how I advance. That Jagdpanzer is making a very dumb move. He's unaware of what's going on in the game, and he put himself out in the open. Now the key, as long as someone is spotted, just sit here and wait for him to be taken out of the game. Now, because the T-62A is very close to me, along with the Kranwagen, I have to stay in this position. Very risky for me to move. And I could still be spotted because the back of my tank is sticking out of the bush a little bit. I'm going to show you my front coverage. My rear looks pretty safe. It's probably going to be okay. I got 3,700 spotting damage. The Object 268 just took a hit for 745. I just got 1,000 spotting damage on their Object 268. So somebody finally spotted me and I was taken out of the game. Now, what was funny, when I got spotted, my hands jumped to the keyboard. I as if I was actually playing in the game, and I thought, oh my God, I got to do something. Okay, so that's 4,800 spotting damage in the after game. Results was 5,200 spotting damage. And the score is 0-3. It's still early in the game. Now, it's early in the game, and you're going to ask yourself, is 5,200 spotting damage worth playing the game, especially considering that I died relatively early in the game? And the answer is yes, because if I were firing my gun, to get 6,000 combined damage is really difficult using your gun alone. So having that kind of spotting damage is definitely worth it. You're definitely doing something for your team to get numbers like that. This tank is a T-54 lightweight. This is a Russian Tier 9 light tank, and the map is Prokhorovka. I am going to get 6,800 spotting damage. I'm working on the mission, which is LT-15, the Aggressive Recon Specialist. To get 8,000 spotting damage, the prize is an Object 260. I'm going to be 300 damage short of accomplishing it in this game. Now, you'll notice that I like to take an aggressive position, so if I don't spot anybody, I'm going to keep on going, and I'm going to take this more advanced bush. Make sure you're fully within the bush. Check the front to make sure that I'm not too far. Make sure that my rear doesn't expose too much. And then just sit here and don't touch anything and hope to not get spotted. Now, one of the things that could happen in the game, for example, you have this Object 277. There's a chance that he might come close to that ridge or even go over the ridge. Because what happens in the game is that if you're hidden well and you're spotting, people sometimes assume that there's no one spotting on my team, so they think that they can come out here. So there is a threat that they will come here because I'm too far into enemy territory. The enemy will think it's safe when it's really not. The reason why I'm going to be 300 short at the end of the game is because at the end of the game I'm forgetting to switch to the APCR, not paying close enough attention to the remaining hit points, not realizing that I was close to 8,000 and I should have played a little bit more carefully because I only needed 300 more. So I screwed that up at the end of the game. Now the Waffenträger, he's going to make a mistake. Eventually he's going to try and poke out because there's a bush over where the Waffenträger is that he's going to try and use. And that's the position I'm talking about with this Object 277. He's going to come up on that ridge occasionally, and he's going to be a threat. He's going to get close to me. The other thing you want to do is you want to know where the enemy light tanks are. If there's enemy light tanks that are playing on your side, for example, there's an HWK. He's playing in the midfield, so he's not a threat. You want to make sure that they're not playing on your side of the field. Now that's where the Waffenträger makes his mistake. Tries to make it into that bush. Got spotted. Unfortunately, we lost our FV215B. I'm up to 2,800 spotting damage. When someone on your side gets killed, I don't know if that FV was on my side, but you'll notice that it said that the ISU-152 killed him, and that means that the ISU-152 is a hidden threat that hasn't been spotted yet. Might be on my side of the field. So the Charioteer is doing a smart thing. He's trying to take up a good position. He's going a little bit too far. He should have stopped. He went way too far. He should have stopped at that row of bushes over there, or at this row of bushes next to me. He went too far and exposed himself, but he also exposed the enemy. Okay, now I've identified that the ISU-152 is west, and it's possible that I did it because I saw that he may have killed a Charioteer. I missed the messages, so I alerted to my team to another tank that is on our side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got 3 tanks that we don't know where they are. There could be potentially 3 more tanks on our side of the field. Now that my team is advancing and no one's shooting at them, that tells me that it might be safe for me to advance. So at some point I'm going to advance and I'm going to stay low. Skoda's out of the game. Now somebody's shooting at the Jagdtiger. I don't know what direction the shots are coming from. I'm up to 4,600 spot damage. Jagdtiger fired his gun, but nobody was spotted. Now, the smart thing to do is to head all the way to the red line. And the reason why is because if I'm on that red line, the enemy has to turn his gun all the way around in order to shoot at me. And they're not always going to do that. So I go all the way to the red line. Now, we've got this tank right here, the IS-3, to worry about. The ISU-152 was taken out of the game. And we've got this Object 277 over here. Look where his gun is pointing. He's pointing his gun apparently at the T-30. So this IS-3 did turn his gun around. However, we've got plenty of guns in the back here. Unfortunately, the Kanonen Jagdpanzer and the Waffenträger and the T-26E5 are out of range. Or actually, you know what? Are they out of range? They're out of range for hitting this IS-3. The Yag Tiger is within range, and so is the Scorpion. And I'm really relying on those tanks, and those tanks don't realize how much danger I am. I've got a full health IS-3, just lost the Yag Tiger. You'll notice that the IS-3 is not a very good player. He's going to be taking hits, but he's not a good player. He's going to be flubbing a lot of his shots. I tried to get around behind him. You can see he's not driving very well. I should have switched to the APCR. He missed an easy shot. So I was taken out by either a Scorpion G or the GW Tiger. At this point, I was 300 or 300 hit points shy of completing LT-15, the Aggressive Recon Specialist. The only thing I could have done, the IS-3 was defeated, was get out of there quickly. So I guess it wasn't completely my fault. The enemy did kill me. Let's move on, see what happens. I'm going to fast forward it. Fast forward it more. Okay, look how close the Scorpion G was right next to me. And he wasn't spotted. And that's the game. So I got 6,800 spotting damage. I did 915 damage with my gun. Combined, I did around 7,700, 300 shy of the LT-15. This tank is the AMX 1390. This is a French Tier 9 light tank, and the map is Live Oaks. I am going to get 2,900 spotting damage and 2 kills, but what's good about this game is you're going to see some good tactics in this game that you can use as a light tank player when you're playing on maps such as Live Oaks. So normally what I try to do is I want to spot as many tanks going to city as I can. So this is one of the spotting bushes you can use right over here. You get a pretty good view, but you're going to miss the fast tanks that have already made it to town. And the other thing is, along the A row, the road is elevated, so tanks that have a low profile are going to be able to get to town if they're driving on the other side of that road. You can see we can already spot that Badger. One of the things that I do when I play this game is I check along the rail to see if any of the enemy tanks come to my side of the rail. And if they do come to my side of the rail, I see if I can take shots at them. Because the game is going a little slow, I'm going to go to spot the city to see if I can find any tanks in the city. Obviously, I found one, which is the STI. Now, you notice that what I'm doing is I'm driving down this road, and I'm going to spot all the tanks. There they are. They just got spotted. So I'm going to pause the game. You can see we've got the Object 260, the ST1, and another ST1. And there is a structure over here, which is a water tower, which has a solid base. And if you slip between that gap, all the tanks that are over here behind you once you get into this area, you're safe from these tanks. So you can go in and just spot everybody and then just drive away. And I didn't take any damage. I got hit, but no damage was taken. You're going to want to drive as far away as possible so that you're out of their spotting range. And remember that the SPG might be watching you. But now we know that there's 3 heavy tanks in that area, and it allows my team to make a more educated decision as to how to handle the game. Because I'm a fast tank, I can do a lot of proximity spotting where I can get a block away from those tanks and keep them spotted, and if they try to come after me, just run away. Now, this is a spotting bush. The reason why this bush is good is because you can see the tanks that are coming down through this gap, and you can actually shoot at them even though there's some obstacles in the way, and you can monitor what's going through on this road. and you can shoot them ideally in the tail. If you shoot them in the tail, they're more likely to continue going. If you shoot them in the front, they're more likely to turn their guns and shoot at you. Based on the fact that I did not spot those tanks as I drove around through the town, my guess is that they're still in that area where they were initially spotted. We do have a Maushin coming in, and we've got 2 snipers, the T-30 and the Scorpion G, but they're unlikely to hit anything. If I go into the town right now, it would be pretty much me going in alone. Now, we've got a couple different strategies. One is we could go after that Badger. We got a lot of guns pointing towards the hill where the Badger is. We could go try and hunt down the enemy SPG. However, there's only 1 enemy SPG. If there were 3 enemy SPGs and you have an open run on the enemy SPGs, there's more rewards for going after the SPGs. You can see that we're fairly even. The enemy has covered more territory in the south. However, we're still holding up against them. We've got more allies heading north. The Jagdpanzer and the T-54 have left their midfield position and have headed north. One thing I could do is I could try to draw the enemy out of that position, which I'm pretty sure I'm not going to do in this game. But drawing them out just means going in and spotting them and pretending to be slow. Okay, here comes an ST-1. For those of you who are curious, the 1 is the Roman numeral 1. It's the letter I, but it represents the Roman numeral 1. So it would be called the ST-1. When you have a side scraper like that, you want to hit them with HE rounds. You're not going to do as much damage as you do with an AP round, but at least you can still do damage. The weaker side armor will take significant damage if you hit it with an HE round. You'll notice that I'm notifying my team that they should use HE rounds on the side of the STI, the ST-1. You'll also notice that one of the ST-1s has retreated back towards the base area, which is starting to give me ideas. We've got a lone tank going through an open field on the A row. I could go to the A5 area and I could snipe on the rear of that ST-1. The other thing I could do is I could go after the ST-1. Right there, nice shots. Looked like I had a ghost shell. And he didn't spot me. I don't think he spotted me. Maybe I was spotted, I wasn't paying attention. So when you do this type of a city tactic, I'm gonna go after this ST-1. You don't wanna be right next to him. You wanna be far enough away that you can find a clear shot, but not close enough that you're going to be proximity spotted or that you can't run easily. I've played this game many times. What I could have done is I could have gone on the other side of this building, been closer to the ST-1, and it's more dangerous over there. So you want to be further away, like, for example, in this position, even if you got to knock some buildings down. You'll notice it's very easy for me to get away from him. And he shows little concern for me. The score is 8-2. We did win in the south. If you want to increase chance of starting the engine on fire, you want to hit the enemy tank on the axle in the middle of the tank in the rear. So the lower rear is where you're going to aim your shot. I did substantive testing on setting the engine on fire, and I found that that's the spot that increases the chance of doing it. Now, to make the final run in, the score is 10-2. I'm going to ride along the bushes over here. Use the bushes for cover. I was able to hit the track of that tank. The score is 12-2. There's still one tank that's unspotted. Probably going to proximity spot the STI. Well, you'll notice I took a chance that he was pointing his gun the other way, which was a really dumb idea because obviously I'm the only one spotted and he sees me coming in. He knows that I'm coming that way. But what I did was I timed my reload so that when I came around is about the time that I'm going to be reloaded. Although I only got one shot in. But I can make another run around. And you'll notice that this is the ST1 that left the city. He's not a very good player. You can tell by the way he's playing. And that's the game. I did 2,900 spotting damage, 1,600 damage, 2 kills, and the score was 15-2. This tank is the Sheridan. This is an American Tier 10 light tank, and the map is Karelia in assault mode, and I'm on the defending team. I am going to get 3,800 spotting damage. I am trying a different maneuver. Normally I try to take something midfield, but lately what I've been doing is trying to spot the tanks as they approach their fighting position. So I haven't found the perfect position yet. You can see that still got to work some of the details out. I got spotted on the way. So now there's a T100 LT that made it through the field. As you can see, if I had stopped at this position, I would have still been able to spot all those tanks. So I didn't have to go as far as I did. And look at how it's really going to slow the enemy down. The T100 LT made it to the D4 position, which is a very powerful position for him. But I've also got a great position because I've got these tanks pinned down and spotted, and they're afraid to move. But remember, they know that I am in this position. On their mini-map, they see a little green dot at the location that I'm at right now, so they know I'm here. I got 2,900 spotting damage. And you can see that there's a lot of enemy tanks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8, perhaps 8 enemy tanks here in the south. So I'm glad that I did come here. I did slow them down. They do outnumber us. Let's see if somebody... Oh, look at what's happening. Now, what happened right here is that T100, he's right here now. He was at the D4 position. He knew that I was in this position because, like I said, there's a green dot on his mini-map because I was last spotted here. So he came and he hunted me down. And they took me out of the game. So it was a very good move for his team. And I'm going to talk about this real quick. So first of all, yes, you can come out here at the beginning of the game and spot those tanks on the way to the fighting position. You don't have to go past this rock. You could stop at this rock where I am right now or on the other side, and you can be here, never be spotted in that game, and that T100 never would have known where I was, and I probably would have had a better game. So I had 3,800 spotting damage, and let's move on to the next game. This tank is a Sheridan. This is an American Tier 10 light tank. The map is Karelia. I'm going to show you a spotting position. This is going to give you a general idea of just how far you can go in this game without being spotted. I'm going to get really close to the enemy territory. So keep an eye on the mini-map. I usually take this route. I take this exact same route every time because it's the safest route. If you spot anybody, you can stop whenever you want. You'll notice that I started spotting people. And because I spotted people, I decided to stop so I can check them out to see if they're a threat to me. For example, if they're light tanks and I don't want to get spotted, I would probably stay in the bush. Now, this is somewhat close. You can see that I've gone pretty deep into enemy territory. I'm going to easily spot any of the traffic for the enemy tanks that move across the edge of the border. Now, one of the issues we have to deal with is we've got enemy tanks that are going to be parking right over here, for example, behind this rock structure, and I can't spot them from this position very easily. Over time, I will spot those tanks, but you really want to spot them as soon as possible. One of the issues that you're going to notice in this game is that most of my team went to the southeast, so I don't have snipers on my team backing me up other than the T-54 lightweight. The grill is too far away to snipe any enemy tanks that I spot. You'll notice that I'm advancing to a new position, going from bush to bush, letting the binocs turn on. You'll see that when the binocs came on, the FV-4005 was spotted. He's going to take a lot of damage. It's not going to happen immediately, but over the course of the game, he's going to take a lot of damage. There it is. Now, at this point, I was thinking, can I respot him? But if you look at the minimap, you're going to notice that the enemy light tanks are starting to go after our base. You see I'm turning around to see if I could get a shot on those tanks. So at this point, I'm thinking about maybe retreating back to base. We just lost our SPG, and my team is going to need me spotting back at the base. So this is going to be about the end of the usefulness of this position. Oh, I wish I could have nailed him. I had a chance on him. And there we go, we lost the T-54 lightweight. So as you can see that the game has changed. I just wanted to use this video to show this particular spotting position. So let's move on to the next video. This tank is the RU-251. This is a German Tier 9 light tank. The map is Abbey or Monastery. I am going to get 4,000 spotting damage in this game. Almost every game I go to the right except for when I play in the Tier 2 games. Luckily, it's a lot easier to spot over here than it used to be. They actually made spotting easier on this map rework. You go over to this little island over here, and there's a couple different positions that you can use. But one thing you can do is you can climb up this mountain, wait until you're unspotted. I know that I'm spotted right now. And then go over into this bush and turn on your binocs. You can do a lot of spotting. I'm already up to 967 spotting damage. I do have to spot the M60, so I had to move further into the bush. Up to 1,300 spotting damage. Now the problem that we have is that we've got 6 enemy tanks and 3 allies firing their guns. So we're outnumbered 2 to 1. And they know I'm here. So an SPG took out the T-34B. We've got an STRV, which is possibly moving into a firing position. We lost one of our allies in the south. If they were smart, the T-10, all he has to do is sit there and do nothing. And now the enemy team is advancing. The enemy team has wisened up. 2,700 spotting damage. Now I have no one that I can spot, so I'm not in a good position right now. And the smart thing for me to do is to get into a position where I can help. Looks like my allies are still able to do damage on that T-10. Looks like I missed my shot. So I got 3,100 spotting damage. Score 6-3, and I got 1 kill. I probably should have gone in sooner to help my team, because while all that was happening, I was unable to do any spotting for my team. And they probably would not have pointed their guns at me because they were pointing their guns at my other allied tanks. Score 7-5. You want to be careful when you come to this field. If you go the wrong way in the wrong game, you can get sniped at by enemy campers. You notice that I'm zigzagging. We don't know where the enemy is. I'm going to avoid driving on the enemy base. And you'll notice that I'm not driving towards the SPG. I'm driving perpendicular to him so that his gun and his hull have to turn, which means it's more difficult for him to aim at my tank. And what I was doing was I was just going to reverse and go back the way I came. Score is 10-6. I got 3,700 spot damage and 1,000 damage with my gun and 3 kills. Now I know that the low is coming back in my direction. The other enemy tanks are unspotted. I can see that the low had low health points, so I easily could have gone after him and finished him off. However, this Object 268, he's got a lot of hit points. He's a threat to me. Got to get away from him. Just drive through everybody. You don't have good gun depression on the rear of the 251, so you can't really shoot over the rear. And you'll notice that I didn't repair my my ammo rack yet. Looks like I fired too early. And that's the game. Did 4,000 spotting damage, 1,500 damage, and 3 kills. The base was captured. This tank is the AMX 1390. This is a French Tier 9 light tank. The map is Malinovka. If you watch my games, you'll know that I like to make a run out into the field. However, it's less effective now because the number of bushes that you can head for has been reduced, and the spawn points have been moved, so that you have to go further in order to spot the enemy tank. So because I was spotted, I'm taking my time moving into the spotting position. This is a very powerful position, even though it's not as deep as I like it to be. I prefer to be in this bush over here, but it's very difficult to get there nowadays, especially with the higher tiers. Everyone has a greater spotting range. They're going to see it coming. In a lower tier like tier 6 or 7, it's going to be a lot easier to get there. But what I do is I keep in mind, maybe at a later point I'll try and make a run for that bush. There used to be a bush over here where this little mound is, but now they've shrunk it so that it's too small to be used. So we can't do the effective spotting on this map that we used to be able to do. But you will notice that there's still a lot of enemy tanks that are within my spotting range. And we still don't know where that T-54 lightweight is. Chances are he's in a bush in front of me. So some people might ask, what do you do if the spotting dries up? One of the things you can do is you could head out this way, go through the town, and you could spot the tanks as they approach the hill. But we still have a lot of tanks that are near the base, so I don't think the enemy is going to go to the hill. I'm up to 2,500 spotting damage. $3,700 spotting damage. There's too many enemy tanks near their base. We're going to probably win the hill. We had that KV-13 went out in the open. We had a lot of guns that could have taken him out. Unfortunately, they failed to do so. So I decided to move, possibly because I saw the T-54 leave. And because I was spotted, I'm going to hide in this little ridge area over here where hopefully nobody can hit me. So it looks like the enemy did go to the hill. There's sufficient enemy heavy tanks at the hill that they may win the hill. I'm going to move up into a closer spotting position. The problem with this spotting position is that it's too low, and because it's too low, it's going to be difficult to spot the enemy tanks. Got to move to that safe position. Now my turret is jammed, and that's the type of repair you want to make sure you're safe first before you worry about repairs. So get into a safe position first. And this is one of the safe positions. Unfortunately, I was taken out of the game. So let's see if there's an alternative position. I could have moved behind this rock right over here. In fact, it may have been safer if I went behind that rock. But that's, you know, you learn, you live, you learn. Excuse me. Okay, so that's the game for me. Let's move on to the next. This tank is the Type 62. This is a Chinese Tier 7 light tank. The map is Malinovka. I'm going to get 3,600 spotting damage. We're going to have an easy win. You're going to see a new position. 3,600 spotting damage is very good for a Tier 7 tank. So what I'm doing right now is I'm heading straight towards the enemy to spot as many enemy tanks as I can. You'll notice that as I spotted that T-29, I started to move to the left. And the reason why is because if you spot somebody, you want to move away from them, not towards them. And I went in and I spotted 4 enemy tanks, which allows my allies to get some early shots in. They did 723 damage. Actually, it's up to 950 damage on that spotting run that I did. All 3 of those shots were on the heavy tank number 6, which appears to also be out of the game. Now this tank over here, this Progetto, he's going to be unable to take that position. He's going to try multiple times to go up there, and every time he's going to fail, and he's going to have to reverse. You can see him come up and go down and come up and go down. We're going to have an easy win in this game. What's going to happen is my team is going to win on the hill, and as they win on the hill, I'm going to help them as they advance down the field. You can look on the mini-map. You can see where I'm located on the mini-map, which is a pretty good position. It's not ideal. It's not exactly what I want. Some of the good things about this position, we don't know where all the enemy tanks are, but what we do know is that most of the enemy tanks are in the southeast area. So even though our SPG is vulnerable where he is, and there's going to be a tank that eventually is going to make a sweep around that way, there's not a lot of enemy tanks out there. And when you play the game, you want to play to be able to spot as many tanks as possible. So this is actually a really good position that's easy to play for spotting enemy tanks. And you can see that we're about to clean up on the hill. The enemy is capping the base. I'm going to take care of that later. I'm going to make a rush in, and we are going to decimate all the tanks that are on that base. So I'm hoping, I'm waiting for that final tank to be taken out of the game. As soon as he's taken out of the game, I'm going to reposition. We just lost our SPG, so 2 enemy light tanks have now made the sweeping move on our rear flank. So now that we've won the hill, now it's time for me to help my team advance. I want to be far ahead of my team. You don't want to be close to your team. I want to be so far ahead that they don't have to go anywhere and they can just fire their guns. We don't want my allies to be spotted. I'm going to take the risk. There's no reason why they should be spotting on their own. It's just a safe maneuver to go to a bush, turn on the binocs, and then advance, and keep on repeating. We've got 55 seconds left. I'm coming up with a plan to go spot the base. It says that there's 2 tanks on the base. Now there's 3. Very easy to spot them. I'm up to 1,600 spotting damage. Just got to be patient, let my allies take those tanks out of the game. The great thing about it is the enemy doesn't know the danger that they're in, that T-29 is not safe. The IS took out the T-29. You can look at where the IS is on the minimap. He had a clear shot, and he could probably go after that Cromwell also. I'm notifying my team that there's 1 tank in the game that has not been spotted, although he was just no, he's still unspotted. So there's 1 tank in the game that's still unspotted, and as I predicted, the IS did kill the Cromwell. So the Hellcat was finally spotted. Now the maneuver that I'm going to do is I'm going to sit on the cap, and I'm going to spot from the cap and snipe if I have to. There's no reason to go chasing after those enemy tanks. If I see that the enemy tanks are a threat to my team, then I will go scout them out. But right now, capping is a good strategy, even though it does take a long time to cap. That's not a good position. I just went there to be safe to see what was going to happen. Now I'm moving up into a spotting position, even though I'm out in the open. So we know where those 2 tanks are. We know where our allies are. Want to keep those tanks spotted. You can see that the Progetto is far enough away that I can probably shoot at him without being spotted. Hello? Good. Okay, so I had to take a phone call. We'll get back into the game. The AMX 1375 was taken out of the game. As you can see, I'm still able to spot from my team, even though I'm not hidden in a bush. You don't have to be in a bush. The Progetto, I'm pretty sure they're going to take him out of the game. My allies are going to take him out. I'm going to advance the game a little bit. I'm up to 3,400 spotting damage. The smart thing to do is to stay on the base. If you get spotted, what I did was I went to a lower part because I was spotted, and I don't want him to shoot at me. Don't worry about taking damage. I got 3,600 spotting damage. Worry about winning the game. They're eventually going to take him out. I'm going to fast forward it. And there he is. That's the game. This tank is the AMX 1390. This is a French Tier 9 light tank. And the map is Mannerheim Line, which was previously known as Arctic region. I am going to get 3,800 spotting damage. If you watch my videos, you're going to notice that I'm taking a different route than I used to take. I'm trying to get into a spotting bush that is closer to the enemy, which is going to allow me to spot tanks that previously would have been out of my spotting range. I'm not taking a good routes because I'm not good at playing this. That's the bush I was looking for, but I had trouble finding it because I haven't been playing this side very well. So I'm going into to this lower area, and we're going to have to use a different method to get these tanks, enemy tanks, spotted. Already got 1,000 spotting damage, but at least you can see the bush that I was looking for, and I have successfully made it there on other games. So one of the things we're going to want to do is we're going to proximity spot enemy tanks by getting close to these ridges. Luckily, I noticed this Challenger, let my allies take some shots at him. Maybe he'll think twice about coming after me, especially considering I'm an autoloader. Look for an escape route. Everything worked out really well for me. This is a time to consider a reload. I do have a target that I can shoot at, which is a T-49. I'd have to spot him first. You'll notice that he was aimed in my direction. Ow! Yeah, you don't want that. So I went for the reload. I'm taking a look around. This is a relatively safe position to park and to read the maps and to see what's going on. So I got the spotting damage that took that Su-152 out of the game. It's possible that my ally was pinging for the STRV and my ally wanted me to go spot him. I don't remember if that happened in this game or not. But you can see these tanks are going to be spotted very easily, and they're going to be taken out of the game. That Pershing is pinned down right now. Got to get him out as quickly as possible. We've spotted another tank, which is a Charioteer. I'm perfectly safe over here. They can't do anything about me unless there's an SPG directly in front of me. There would have to be an SPG in that area in order to be able to hit me. I've got 2,100 spotting damage. I'm going to roll up into this bush over here, see if I can get some coverage. Don't see anything. Hopefully my allies will hit him. Got to go for safety. Looking to hug that rock. Going to go back down the hill to avoid the enemy fire. So basically when I said hug that rock, if the T-49 had turned to the direction I just came from and I had been close to the rock, I would have had the best protection against him. He would not have been able to hit me. Up to 2,800 spotting damage. Just got a proximity spot, the STRV. I'm sure he'll be taken out of the game. There's a good spotting position right here. Able to spot the IS-3. So we've got a Pershing and an IS-3 and potentially an ELC and a Charioteer in the area. You notice that my team is not advancing in the north. It should be quite safe for them to advance, and they're not doing it. In the south, I would say not so much. It's going to be a little bit more dangerous for them in the south. I can only sit here forever spotting for my team. At some point, I'm going to have to go somewhere else and spot some enemy tanks. You want to go spot usually where the most targets are, or wherever you can clear out a flank to free up your allies. There is an SPG in front of me, so there he is. Got to be very wary of that SPG. He could easily take me out of the game. I'm up to 3,500 spotting damage and 1,400 damage. Got 1 kill. The score is 7-3. Finally able to spot that SPG. And that's the game for me. I did 1,400 damage, 3,800 spotting damage. The score was 8-4. I'm sure we're going to win this game, and I got 1 kill. This tank is the RU-251. This is a German Tier 9 light tank. The map is mines. I'm going to get 2,000 spot damage. Now, as you can see from this position, you can spot a lot of enemy tanks as they leave their spawn. And this is not the only position that you can use. For example, there is a bush right there that you can use to get closer to them. But you're pretty much guaranteed to spot tanks if you go to that position. I only did 187 spotting damage, so my allies didn't really take advantage of it. As you can see, I moved to a closer position, which is the next island. I was able to spot a T-26E5. Plus, I saw a tree fall down next to him. So I know that there is definitely another tank to his right in the A4 area. There's 10 spotted tanks. 1 dead, which brings up to 12. 1 SPG, which brings it up to 13, which means that there's 2 unspotted tanks in the game. I'm waiting for my team to take out that T-26E5, and I was really disappointed at how long it took for them to do so. So now we're down to 1 unspotted tank in the game. It's probably safe for me to move forward and get closer to these tanks. But I'm not going to do so until we've dealt with this tank. That tank needs to be taken out of the game. As long as we can still spot him, remain in this position, and have him taken out of the game, and then move on to the next target. Up to 1,400 spotting damage. See, there's not a lot of shots going in. There is a bat chat. He's going to have to reload from his autoloader. Somebody's shooting and missing, that's for sure. Okay, so it looks like the Scorpion is the last unspotted tank. So now we know where everybody is except for the SPG. And now I know that I could move up to one of these positions. I could move up to here, up to this slope, behind this rock, over there where that bush is. I've got a couple of options now. Okay, so he's finally out of the game. Now I'm not spotting anybody. Okay, there's a Scorpion G that just became spotted. I know it's taking a long time, but it's best to sit and wait. I lost my ally, so the bat chat was taken out of the game by a Pershing. You'll notice that the score was 3-8 or 4-8, so I was worried a little bit about the fact that we were losing, and I wanted to take some action. Well, we spent too much time dealing with those tanks over there. And the P-44 was not in a firing position. I should have turned left sooner. Trying to get away from those enemy tanks. And unfortunately, I was taken out of the game. The score is 6-11.